AI isn't coming in the future, it's already here. And what you decide next could determine if your career evolves or it evaporates. So let's chat about this. Welcome to Crossroads and Catalysts, the podcast with Shenita B. I am your host. This is where we discuss the thoughtful, wise, and strategic perspective at a crossroads can be the catalyst for change. I appreciate that you're joining me today. And before we jump into today's topic, I would like to pause just to ask that you give me a review and that you also share these episodes so that we can continue to grow our momentum as we're building our listenership. So thank you for that. Today's topic, we are talking about AI and the impact on all of our industries here in the United States. It's turning into a big deal if you haven't already noticed. And there is not any aspect of our lives that has not already been touched at some point by AI. It's just going to become a more ominous thing. That we live with, and we want to talk about what that looks like in relation to our careers. And I'd like to start off by talking about what we've seen in the past, because I think that when we consider how quickly technology has advanced over the years, a lot of the white collar type professional positions have been enhanced, and the work has been enhanced by technology. And I think that we've grown so accustomed to having technology around that we've never really considered that it would impact some of the jobs that are potentially going to be eliminated in the very near future as a result of AI. If you consider that some of the stats that are coming out are telling us that roughly 30% of the jobs in the United States could potentially be eliminated because of AI. That's a pretty large number. And like I said, when you consider in the past, even when you would talk about technology in, let's say, fast food and using AI for ordering burgers and fries, well, people were kind of in an uproar about that. But because those were more the entry level, first level type jobs, I don't know that we really understood the impact of that, but it's about to come knocking at our doors for those of us who are working in professional settings. And so it behooves us to really pay attention to the climate that's about to change and shift as a result of AI, because all of us are going to have to consider how relevant we will be in the AI age. And that's one of the reasons why I want to talk about it, because it's that important. And like I just mentioned, with that 30% stat. Of course, that's a projection. We don't really know the full impact, but if you even consider that this is being talked about in a lot of places, you can find news articles about it. You see it talked about on the news. I heard about it recently at a conference, and when I heard it from one of the colleagues, it was pretty jarring to consider that 30% of the work that as we know it could be completely impacted and shifted away because AI has advanced to the degree that it has. And of course, AI, there are a lot of good things about AI, and there are a lot of not so good things about AI. And we want to get into how we can not necessarily protect ourselves, but how we can evolve uh, in the aftermath of the promulgation of AI. Not necessarily the words that I was going for, but we'll stick with it. I want to give you some tips, because even in well, before I give you the tips, my knowledge of AI, listening to the news, it's not always very clear uh, from some of the things that I've heard what AI is, what it's going to do, the potential for it. And when you're listening to some of these news stories that air that try to explain what this is, well, you're not really sure if they're giving you everything that you need to really be as informed as you should be. So it's really on us. The onus is on each of us to try to understand it better and understand how in our own workplaces, what is our work going to look like? And I love to apply technology to a lot of work because it helps to free up my time, some of my colleagues' time, some of my team members' time to focus on those things where we really need the highest level of their skill set to be applied. And I think that AI helps to do that to some degree. Now, again, when it goes back to talking about the relevancy and how we will be able to fit into this new AI age, well, that's where we really have to start to think strategically about what we're going to do to make sure that we still are relevant in an ever changing environment. And so, one of the things that I want to point out as far as some of the tips that we need to consider is we want to shift from panic to curiosity. Now, a lot of you may not be panicked or even really concerned about how AI will be adopted and adapted into your current work environment, but you still want to remain curious about what that will look like. Because let's face it, a lot of organizations, big or small, do not have the working capital to pour resources into some of the AI tools that will be available. But let's face it, as technology continues to advance and it is more easily and widely adapted in the greater market, it becomes cheaper. So as it becomes cheaper, then more organizations and people will begin to implement these types of tools into their workplaces. And so it won't be that far off. It was only in the 80s when cell phones were were pretty exclusive items, and now just about everyone has them. And I'm talking about a lot of people all over the world who you might not even expect would. So we're walking around with devices that have the computing power of a supercomputer from 40, 50 years ago. So it has moved that quickly, and it's continuing to exponentially grow. So you want to definitely develop a curiosity if you haven't already, because you will find that in a lot of instances, it will be a great virtual assistant to you. So take advantage of it while you can and prepare yourself so that you can at least have the awareness of what it can do and how you can apply it at where you are. Number two, you want to audit your own position for tasks that can be automated. And what I mean by this is not necessarily that AI will replace your job, but that you would be someone who knows how to use it and use it effectively. Um, this is going to be important because if you know that it's going to happen anyway, you want to already prepare yourself mentally for the fact that it's coming, and then shift your thinking so that you can work alongside it, whether rather than oppositionally to it. And that's going to help you in the long run. Because you definitely don't want to be seen as that person who doesn't want to change, because you will be left behind. And by the way that it looks with the advancements of AI, uh, there has the potential to be a lot of people to be left behind if they're unwilling to change how they think and view technology in the workplace. And again, the goal here is to make sure that there is a space and a place for us and our skill set, which means that we're going to have to enhance it. We're going to have to educate ourselves and, like I said, build that awareness for it. Number three, develop those power skills that AI cannot replicate. AI is not human. Humanity, that is something that is strictly unique to human beings. The fact that we are emotionally intelligent creatures, that we can critically think, that we have a will. There are so many advantages to being who we are as humans that AI cannot replicate. Now, there are going to continue to be some advancements that make it mimic some behaviors or characteristics, but it will not be human. And so we want to take advantage of that for as long as we have that window of opportunity. And so, what you want to do is you want to develop those strategic thinking skills. You want to learn how to exercise sound and solid judgment, because that's what's going to help you in the long term so that you can help to establish and determine how AI will be deployed where you are. That's going to be extremely important. Number four, experiment with AI and don't just talk about it. Now, this goes hand in hand with the one that I just mentioned about being curious, but you want to actually get in there and tinker around with it and see what it can do. And I think that in some instances, you'll be pleasantly surprised as to how this can work out. And of course, this doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to master it right away, but if you're at least working with it and experimenting with it to find out what the capabilities are, you can think through how it can be applied most effectively where you are. You could be the one who is providing the recommendations and the suggestions as to where and how AI is utilized in your organization, which is really going to be a big deal. And I say that because there are a lot of industries or niches within the greater market that are really concerned with how AI will be deployed and utilized. Because again, you think of privacy, you think of biases that might be built into AI. There are a lot of consequences and ramifications for the utilization of AI that have not been fully addressed, which are going to likely require some political changes so that we can make sure that we're securing people's data, that it's utilized effectively, that it's utilized without bias. And so all of these things are considerations that cannot be forgotten as we're looking forward to how AI will be implemented in our workplaces. And those things are extremely important. And like I said, just talking to some people, we're up against AI when we're applying for jobs even. I'm sure a lot of people recognize that the algorithms, you hear the talk about algorithms and how they work either for or against. And whether you're applying for a job, whether you're utilizing social media, algorithms are currently at work directing the path of what is being sent and to whom, what is being presented and to whom. And how we utilize it is going to impact that. And the guardrails that we place around those things is really what's going to be important. So, wherever you are, in whatever position you find yourself in, you want to exercise um, critical thinking, strategic thinking, and how you approach the conversations with AI, because it's not going to come down simply to how much it costs. There are going to be some other critical questions that need to be asked, and you want to be a part of that process if at all possible. So I would say that you would certainly want to look for opportunities, if you're not already a leader, to have conversations with the people within your organization, if that's available, to share thoughts, concerns, maybe even use it as an opportunity to get on a project team to see, okay, well, we're doing a feasibility study per se within the organization to see where we can deploy this, if it's even uh, relate, if it's even reasonable to do so, and what are the consequences or the ramifications of doing so. Because again, a lot of us are already impacted by AI. It's just not to the degree to where it's completely eliminated our jobs. And for me, with what I've done over the course of my career, because I've gone in and I've done evaluations and observations, I've asked some of the questions on work and processes and how people are doing things. There are going to be some fantastic things that AI will do that can replace some tasks and make them more efficient, which means that people who are currently doing those things, we definitely don't want to see their jobs go away. We want to see where we can utilize their skill set and maintain that relationship with them in other areas. But it might not always be possible. So we want to think ahead. And if, like I said, if you're a leader, you should already be thinking about these things. If you're already going down that leadership path, or you're working on a team where you have that opening or that opportunity, consider these four tips that I just mentioned, because again, none of us is going to be um, protected from this. And when I consider even everything that AI has already done uh, in the workplace and in the environment, and the changes that have come so quickly, it reminded me of the movie Hidden Figures. And I don't know if many of you have seen that, but this was the story about the human calculators who helped to calculate the computations, the math computations that were necessary to send men to the moon. And this, of course, was based on a true story, uh, as according to the space program here in the United States. And there was one particular lady who stood out, and that was Miss Dorothy Vaughan. And Dorothy Vaughan recognized that technology was going to come in, and it could potentially be ruinous if she was not prepared for what it was going to be able to do. And so what she did, she took it upon herself to learn the IBM server. I think it was an IBM server that was eventually installed as a part of the space program, which was going to take over the computations that she and the ladies working with her were doing at the time. Well, because she positioned herself to be forward thinking and she thought strategically about it, she was able to secure her job and the jobs of her colleagues to ensure that they would be able to continue to contribute to the space program for years to come. And we should all have a mindset like Dorothy Vaughan so that we are recognizing the warning lights, we are seeing the signs, and we are adopting and adapting to those things so that we can remain relevant. Because again, when AI, the fullness of it comes in, it's going to come in like a storm in some areas, and they're going to be pretty much, like I said, eliminated and wiped out. And people may struggle trying to figure out what they can do, what's available, what is their skill set, how do they develop those skills? Will it require going back to school and things like that? And that's why I wanted to have this conversation because it's that important. And while each of us is navigating life and career and trying to figure out where we fit in, there are all kinds of things that would cause us to have to think a little differently because it's not just going to be showing up to work, putting in our time, trying to climb the corporate ladder or build the business. It's going to be well, there's also this aspect of technology and how it's going to be utilized, and what does that look like in accordance with what I bring as far as my skill set. So it's going to go beyond your technical skills. You're going to have some technical skills, and you're going to have to build those more soft skills, like I mentioned earlier, with the emotional intelligence, the empathy, building rapport, critical thinking, strategic thinking. So put those things on your list and really consider carefully what kind of work you're doing today and what that might look like even a year from now, because some of you might already be in situations where your organizations are implementing AI tools right now. So there are going to be some major shifts. You want to be able to shift with it and not be pushed down and run over. So I would like to think that this conversation was a relevant one just because of the environment that we're in. So, like I said, go ahead and like and share this information with others who may be thinking about the same things, or maybe they haven't considered it like they should, and you want to put it on their minds that they should do so right now. So, thanks for stopping by and having this discussion with me. As always, it's a pleasure. And I want you to remember that crossroads reveal who you are, catalysts shape who you become. Every decision matters. So make it count. I'll talk to you next week.